Have you ever felt a moment freeze in time, not because it was beautiful, but because everything about it was wrong, and yet, part of you didn't want it to stop? It happened one night when my son's boss came to our house for a party. I was in my room, escaping the noise and pretending I didn't mind being on the outside of things. Then he knocked. At first, I thought he was lost or looking for Daniel. But when he stepped in and closed the door behind him, the air shifted, subtly, deliberately. He said he just wanted to talk. But the way he looked at me, it wasn't the way a man looks at his employee's mother. It was something else entirely. What he did next left me speechless, not just because of the shock, but because of what it stirred in me. My name is Elise Carter. I'm 48 years old, a mother of one grown son, and a wife of 23 years. On paper, my life would seem steady, uneventful, even enviable. But real life doesn't always match the picture. I live in a quiet suburb just outside Portland. Our home is modest, cozy, with creaking floorboards that hold years of family memories. There's a fading photograph of Robert and me on our wedding day hanging in the hallway, the kind you walk past so often you forget it's there. We've grown into a rhythm that looks like love from the outside, shared coffee in the morning, weekly grocery runs, polite smiles in passing. But deep down, there's distance. We talk, but only in outlines. We touch, but rarely linger. Then there's Daniel, our son. 26, ambitious, kind, and proud of the career he's finally building for himself. After years of trying to make it on his own in the city, he moved back in with us to save money and regroup. It wasn't ideal, but I enjoyed having him around again. It made the house feel alive. Daniel works at a fast-growing marketing firm downtown. He talks about his job constantly, about deadlines, creative pitches, and especially about his boss, Connor Whitmore. According to Daniel, Connor is everything: driven, respected, stylish, and brilliant. He's tough but fair, Daniel said one night over dinner. Like, the kind of guy you want to impress. He sees potential in people, pushes you harder than you thought you could go. I nodded, half listening, assuming Connor was just another distant figure in my son's professional world. So when Daniel asked if he could host a small company get-together at our house, a kind of informal summer mixer, I agreed without hesitation. I thought it would be nice to see him in his element. The night of the party, our home filled with laughter, footsteps, the clinking of glasses. There were a dozen people at most, all buzzing with energy and career ambition. I stayed busy in the kitchen, topping off drinks and arranging hors d'oeuvres, while Robert disappeared into the den to watch a game, his usual escape when the crowd got too young and lively. And then I saw Connor. He was taller than I'd imagined, lean with sharp features and eyes that lingered a second longer than they should. His suit was perfectly tailored, his presence commanding without being loud. When he shook my hand, his touch was warm, too warm, and his compliment carried something beneath it. "I see where Daniel gets his grace," he said with a smile. I told myself it was just charm, just politeness. But there was something in his gaze, like he already knew something about me I hadn't said out loud in years. It wasn't until the party started winding down that I realized I hadn't seen Connor leave. The kitchen was a mess of half-empty wine glasses and crumpled napkins. I was wiping down the counter, trying to block out the sound of muffled laughter still trickling from the living room, when I heard a knock on my bedroom door. At first, I thought it was Daniel. Maybe he needed more ice. Maybe someone spilled something. But when I opened the door, there was Connor, alone. He stood there with one hand in his pocket, the other loosely holding a nearly empty glass of bourbon. He looked too calm, too composed for a man at a party. "Sorry," he said, glancing past me into the dim room. "Didn't mean to bother you. I was just looking for somewhere quiet." I hesitated. "This is my room." His smile flickered. "Would you mind if I came in for a minute? Just to talk?" I should have said no. But instead, I stepped aside. The door clicked softly shut behind him. The weight of it, of that decision, settled on my chest like a warning I couldn't decipher. He walked over to the window, pulled the curtain aside, and looked out at the garden. The silence was too intimate. "I noticed you tonight," he said finally, not looking at me. Not in the way people notice a hostess or a parent. I mean, really noticed. I crossed my arms, trying to mask the sudden prickling behind my skin. You probably shouldn't say things like that. I know, he said, turning to face me, but I couldn't leave without saying it. There was something about his voice, low, thoughtful. It didn't feel like a line. It felt honest. Too honest. I tried to brush it off. Daniel looks up to you. This, whatever this is, it's inappropriate. He took a step closer. And yet you let me in. The words landed like a challenge. And I hated that he was right. You don't know me, I said, my voice faltering. I know you've been lonely for a long time, he replied, his gaze holding mine. I know you've forgotten what it feels like to be seen, not as a mother or a wife, but as a woman. My throat tightened. Because hearing it aloud made it real. And painful. I have a husband, I whispered, more to myself than to him. And I'm not asking for forever. I'm just here. Right now. And I see you. He reached out, gently brushing his fingers against mine. I didn't pull away. I should have. But instead, I felt heat rush to my cheeks, my chest, a place deep inside me I thought had gone cold. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice shaking. Nothing, he said. I just wanted to be honest. I wanted you to know that you're not invisible. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to stop him. I didn't. Our lips met in a kiss that was far too soft to be casual. It was hesitant, exploratory, like he wasn't sure if I'd slap him or kiss him back. But I kissed him back. My hand found the side of his face, my fingers brushing the stubble along his jaw. For a few dizzy seconds, I was 27 again, unsure, alive, burning with something I hadn't felt in years. Then reality crashed down, sharp and unforgiving. I pulled away. No, I said hoarsely. This can't happen. You need to go. He searched my face for a moment, then nodded. No anger. No pressure. Of course. He walked to the door, opened it slowly, and before stepping out, he looked back once. Thank you for letting me see you, he said softly. The door closed behind him, and I sat down on the edge of the bed, breathing hard, staring at the floor like it could answer the questions racing through my head. Asterisk, what have I done? Asterisk. Asterisk, why didn't I stop him sooner? Asterisk. Asterisk, and why do I feel more alive than I have in years? Asterisk. The next morning, I woke before the sun. I sat in the kitchen with a cold cup of coffee, still wearing the same robe from the night before. Everything looked the same, the fridge hummed, birds chirped faintly outside, but inside I was completely unmoored. When Robert wandered in, rubbing his eyes, I felt an overwhelming urge to confess everything. To pour it out like poison. To cleanse it, maybe. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled and asked, "Want me to make you some eggs?" He kissed my forehead absent-mindedly. "You're up early." I didn't sleep much. He didn't ask why. And maybe that hurt more than it should have. Later that day, Daniel came home, bounding into the kitchen with his laptop bag slung over his shoulder, wearing the kind of grin that made him look 5 years younger. "You will not believe what happened today," he said, dropping into a chair. I smiled faintly. "What?" "Connor called me into his office. I thought I was in trouble or something, he was so serious. But then he said he wants me to head the new campaign. Like, asterisk lead asterisk it. Not assist. Asterisk lead dot asterisk. That's incredible, Daniel." I reached out and squeezed his hand. He beamed. He said I reminded him of someone he used to work with, someone who carried themselves with quiet strength. Said I had more than just talent. That I had presence. My stomach flipped. He was talking about me. I didn't need Daniel to say it. I knew. That was Connor's way of saying goodbye. Of marking what happened without crossing another line. And for some reason, that quiet recognition made my heart ache more than the kiss itself. That night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror for a long time. I studied the woman looking back at me. The fine lines near her eyes. The way her lips still remembered the shape of another man's mouth. I tried to recognize myself in her. But what I saw was someone I hadn't met in years. Not because she'd been lost, but because I'd hidden her away. I used to think infidelity came in grand explosions, sheets tangled, secrets whispered. But it doesn't. Sometimes, it comes in the form of attention, of eye contact, of one person saying to another, "I see you," and meaning it. And once you've been seen like that, it's hard to go back to being invisible. I sat on the edge of the bathtub and wept. Not for what had happened, but for everything that had led up to it. The nights I went to bed turned away from Robert. The silence we both ignored at dinner. The quiet resignation I'd worn like a second skin. Connor didn't create that pain. He just noticed it. And for one dangerous moment, I let myself believe that noticing could be enough. But it's not. That kiss was never about Connor. Not really. It was about me. About what I'd stopped asking for. About the woman I forgot I was allowed to be. And now, I had to decide whether that woman could exist in this life. Or if I needed to become someone else entirely, though it's been 3 weeks since that night. Connor hasn't reached out. I didn't expect him to, and I wouldn't have answered if he had. That moment, we both knew, wasn't meant to stretch into something lasting. It wasn't love. It was recognition. It was longing in its rawest form, to be seen, to be touched by something real, even if just for a moment. Daniel is thriving at work. He talks about late nights at the office, client calls, deadlines. Every time he mentions Connor, something tightens in my chest. Not guilt exactly, more like a bruise that hasn't quite faded. Robert hasn't changed much. We still pass each other in the kitchen, ask the usual questions, watch the same shows. But now, I notice how carefully we avoid each other's eyes. Maybe he feels the distance, too. Maybe he's been feeling it for longer than I realized. I haven't told him. I probably never will. Not because I'm afraid of losing him, but because I'm not sure he ever really had all of me to begin with. And maybe that's the hardest truth I've had to sit with. Still, something inside me shifted that night, something I can't put neatly back into place. I've started walking in the mornings, just to be with myself. I watch the sunrise paint the sky in soft oranges and deep purples, and I breathe in the air like it's new. Sometimes I pass couples holding hands, parents with strollers, women my age walking alone, like me. Sometimes, I wonder if they carry their own small betrayals in their pockets. Quiet ones. The kind no one talks about because they don't explode, they dissolve slowly, like sugar in water, invisible but still changing the flavor of everything. I don't know what happens next. I'm not leaving. Not today. But I am asking harder questions, of myself, of my marriage, of the life I've carefully built and quietly tolerated. Maybe it's not about right or wrong. Maybe it's about waking up. And now that I'm awake, I can't go back to sleep.